And now, podcasting from the sun-scorched desert Southwest, weighing in at a combined total of 340 pounds, Brad Winchester, Tyler McDowell-Blanken, are Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell-Blanken. Tyler, it is Saturday as we record this, not Sunday. How we doing, my friend?
It's a great Saturday. Life is so good, man. It was such a blessed week. Today's been awesome. I just got done watching Ashe 4. Shelton Benjamin, Heroes Welcome. He beat Jonathan Gresham clean. And the rest of the show was a blast as well. I think it's by far the best Ashe show. I've seen all of them. All of them have been various levels of entertainment. It's just so important for the culture that I'm going to buy every one of them. This one, though, seemed like they really stepped their game up, and it was cool to see Shelton Benjamin honored that way. He's also a huge human being.
Yes.
We forget this, Brad.
Yeah.
But when WWE wrestlers in particular step out of the WWE universe, it's just apparent, like, wow, these people are Adonises. They're true superstars. So yeah, Ashe was fun. The week was great, and of course, I'm so happy to be here to kick it with you. How are you?
I'm good, man. Ready for a fun weekend, a little water park action coming up here for Freya's birthday celebration, birthday celebration. We're now out of the birthday week. It was her birthday a couple days ago. I can't believe I have a 7-year-old.
I was just about to beat me to it. It's like, I'm not going to cut this man off, but I did. You have a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
How do we feel about that?
Old. Feeling old. She's only 7, and everybody hearing this is probably like, oh, 7, whatever. Man, like it really does go by really fast. It also goes by really slowly. Don't let people convince you that it doesn't, but it does remind me as we celebrate birthdays that, you know, how much more time we got before she doesn't want to hang out the way we hang out now and play the way we play. So really soaking it in. It's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to going to a water park. But Tyler, that was Freya's big week. You, my friend, had a much bigger week than I did, than she did. This week, 4AZ launched. It took over podcasting. It did numbers. I saw comments coming from the corners of the universe in support of your endeavor. It was a great interview. I enjoyed it a lot. There were a couple of moments that made me chuckle just because, I don't know, it sounded so real. And so, yeah, I know what this is like. It's just amazing. Really, really great. Really proud of you. Really happy for you. I'm of course rocking my 4AZ mug, drinking some coffee so I can stay up this late. Tyler, how are you feeling after a very successful launch?
I feel everything, Brad. I feel so much joy. I feel a lot of gratitude. I'm grateful for you. I put it out there, Brad, last week. I teased. My man hooked me up with an amazing overlay, and I think the people would agree. The overlay is fuego. Grateful for you, man.
I really like that thing.
I like that thing so much.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my man, Aaron Gould, our graphic designer at ASU at Teachers College. He created the podcast art and a bunch of other items for me. So logistically, I could have been able to make this happen with so many great people in my corner, again, including you. But as you pointed out, the other part of this, the support, the love, the affirmation, the comments, that meant everything to me this week. When I started planning this about a year ago, I really thought A, it's something that's needed, and B, that it could really take off and capture an audience. So I'm grateful that people tuned in and enjoyed the conversation. Big shout out to Tommy Clardy III, my inaugural guest. I've known that brother for years now, and his family for a long time. The people I hold dear. So it just felt really appropriate that I would have him on, that it would drop on Juneteenth. And we're not done yet. That's the best part of this. I'm not a one-hit wonder. It's not a one and done. We have a great second episode this week coming out on Wednesday, starring the incomparable Mariah Barnett. someone I know you and I hold very dear. And then the following week on July 3rd, we have a Wednesday, thing going on. On July 3rd, we have the great Trevor Knox joining us, who works here in the Phoenix area. So I'm just grateful people have said yes to me, man. If it were just me talking into a microphone, I don't know how many views that would get, Brad. It would probably get 2. My mom and my dad would tune in.
Of course.
But I have guests who people want to hear from. I think it's so important for the culture, and hopefully spotlighting those who have been in the classroom, who are currently in the classroom. But I also really hope that this can help usher in a new wave of educators, a new wave of Black educators, and just help folks find that community that you and I know is so important in teaching. So I feel blessed. I feel grateful. I also just feel at peace, Brad. I'm just, it still doesn't feel real that it's actually in the universe now, and people can support it and tune in. But I really am on cloud 9, and I'm just so thankful.
Man, that's so great to hear. Because listen, it's the reason that AEW Dynamite ratings were down this week.
You think so?
It wasn't the
concert. It was the debut episode.
It was the debut episode. One of the things I was trying to explain this to somebody I was talking to was like, yeah, Tyler's launching this podcast. It's really great. Really proud of him. I was telling him about it. And then they asked, I said, like, he just feels like it's really needed. I agree with him. It's very, very much needed. Given representation, given how many people of color we have in the state, specifically Black folks that go to schools that don't have Black teachers. And there's just not that representation, but not just the Black kids having representation, but like all kids having experiences that aren't just one note. And that's then
all kids benefit.
Every single kid benefits. Yes,
totally.
You and I have talked about my upbringing a lot. And that is not something that I was blessed with. Not a lot of diversity. I don't know what it is like now. I imagine it's pretty much the same, but Escanaba High School is missing some diversity growing up. But when I was explaining this, I'd said that, and hopefully you're okay with me sharing this, I'll edit it out if not, but you told me one time that when you were in, I want to say high school, maybe middle school, but I'm not sure, that you just simply didn't know because of a lack of representation, I guess, that you or someone who looks like you could become a teacher, that just wasn't a thing that was on your radar. And that really stood out to me to make me go, yeah, this is something that is desperately needed. Then if someone of your ability and your character didn't think that you could fit what education needed is crazy to me. So really proud of what you're trying to do here, because it's so needed. Yeah.
Well, thank you, my man. If I could just quickly respond to that. I'm so grateful for your words, by the way, number one, because I'm certainly a flawed man who's trying to get better every day. So
you can always text her back.
Exactly what I was referencing. Exactly. No. Just quickly, it's interesting you say that stood out to you, because I don't just say it for clickbait or for comments. That is really how I felt, especially the further I am removed from being a high school student. The clearer it really is to me that I didn't have an awesome high school experience, and I didn't realize it at the time. But I was that kid where I was kind of cool with everyone in class, but I didn't really have a go-to friend group. Like, yeah, I played basketball. Yeah, I was involved in this really great project, Respect Club, which was about diversity and had like an annual summit about diversity on campus. But when it came time for lunch, I distinctly remember that if one of my good friends, also named Tyler, if he was absent one day, I would eat lunch alone. And not like in a corner in a closet, but I can distinctly remember. I can think of Mountain Ridge High School's campuses in my mind right now, Brad, and just sitting outside, like by the grassy knoll where other kids were as well. But if Tyler was gone, it would just be me with my Uncrustable PB&J. Solo Dolo, just there. I don't even know. I'm assuming I was just looking at my phone. I'm trying to think back to 2011 and what the vibe was. But I think back to that, and perhaps that experience, as difficult as it was, really informed my path moving forward, because I thought I was going to be a journalist, but then I quickly shifted to education. So I think a lot of my life has been and hopefully will continue to be a way to sort of rectify what my experience as a student was. So hopefully I can help students feel included. I can make sure colleagues feel supported. So very long story saying I didn't have an awesome experience as a student. I didn't feel that sense of community. And B, as you said, I certainly didn't see myself as a teacher. I truly didn't know it was possible. You could have told me. So being a teacher was in the same boat for me as being a point guard of the Phoenix Suns or working for NASA and being an astronaut. All three felt at one point in my life or the other seemed really cool, but all three felt like there's just no way I can do it. Either I'm not smart enough or I'm not tall enough or I'm not whatever. I didn't know we could be teachers. And I have family members who are teachers, but maybe it's a product of me growing up on the West Coast and being kind of removed from them on the East Coast. But for whatever reason, I just didn't even know it was possible. I think a large part of that, Brad, was the lack of representation in my K through 12 experience of simply not seeing them, not seeing it was possible. And I had really great teachers who I still keep in touch with. But to your point, it hits different when you have someone who looks like you. So my chosen profession of education, I think a lot of it is just due to me wanting to rewrite my own experience and hopefully make the experiences of students better now and of colleagues, dare I say. It took me a while to realize I can do this and I belong here. So yeah, man, that's like, I have all of that and more to say about why 4AZ is so important to me. But again, so thankful for you and everyone who tuned in. I hope you'll continue to do so because I think we're going to continue building something really, really special over there. And it's personal to me. Mm-hmm. I just feel blessed that I've identified a career that just is really, really personal to who I am. And I'm excited for what's next.
I can't wait for this next interview. A couple things stood out from what you said. Number one, it's a reminder that you said that and you were in high school with a phone. That's not something that, like, sometimes I forget that I'm that much older than you are. Because like there were cell phones at my high school campus, but there were the Nokia gimmicks. Nobody had them. And it was, 25 cents a text message. You get 5 of them and then it's $1 million. No long distance. It was just everybody was making phone calls at 5 p.m. because you had to wait until then to get free unlimited phone calls, or you had to have the friends gimmick at some point, friends and family. That's crazy to me. The other thing is I know you and I both held on to the hope of the point guard position just because Muggsy Bogues existed at some point, because that was the only model for our height that we could point to. Maybe Spud Webb if we took a deep breath and leaned against the wall as hard as we could. But it was Muggsy, and that was kind of it, because I had the same dreams. I wasn't even starting at my own team.
Certainly I wasn't either.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget that Steve Nash is 6'3".
Yes. It's
easy to forget these things.
Yeah. It's absolutely wild. So I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that we weren't going to get in there. If you did, I feel like it would be a hot take, but I know you have your own hot take today, Tyler. It's been a while. Let's dust it off. Hit the music. Are you ready to elevate your fantasy sports experience with Prize Picks? You can win up to 100 times your money during the women's basketball season. Imagine turning $10 into a whopping $1,000. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week.
From lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays.
With the finals over, the hoops action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves, alongside greats like Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson. You could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out.
And the app is so user-friendly. You can go for Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3-points made, and Brianna Stewart, Stewie, for more than 23 points, or Kyle Schwarber for more than 9-hitter fantasy score, and Bryce Miller for more than 4-pitcher strikeouts.
Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match of up to $100. Pick more, pick less, It's that easy.
And now it's time for Hot Take Time. Spicy.
This is perfect. Speaking of talented men who are under 6 feet, Kendrick Lamar, K-Dot, was in the news this week. I'm going to go to my notes. I probably don't even need my notes, Brad, because it's still fresh on my mind, as I'm sure it is yours. But alas, the pop-out special, the concert heard around the world, certainly heard around all of our social media circles. It emanated from Inglewood, California last Wednesday. It was streamed on Amazon Prime. To your point earlier, what a time we're living in, technology-wise, where we can just stream this and be a part of the conversation. But artists like YG, Tyler the Creator, Steve Lacy, and more popped up, pun intended. Even Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, and the king, my GOAT, LeBron James, was in attendance. Thousands were singing and dancing. You know, my hot take revolves around the finale of this concert, Brad. Kendrick and friends performed Not Like Us for at least the last 30 minutes of this concert. It's simply the only reason I tuned in for it. So he made us wait a long time for it. But boy, oh boy.
And Dre kicked it off.
And Dre did. Boy, oh boy, was it worth it. My hot take is this. It's undisputed now. Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar is the greatest diss track ever. Ooh. I don't need to review a list of diss tracks. I know there's Ether. I know more recently there was Back to Back by Drake. There's a lot I'm omitting, but it's clear none of them surpass Not Like Us. And for me, I don't know what the terms of play are, because I feel like I'm going to have some people coming for me after I say this, Brad. But I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the smoke. The whole presentation and follow through and execution of Not Like Us is really what puts this on top for me. The song itself is brilliant, but the way Kendrick has executed all of this, from the concert being on Juneteenth to unifying Crips and Bloods to everything. They're playing this at Phoenix Mercury games, at educational conferences. I just went to one this past week where they were playing it. It's everywhere. It's brilliant. Kendrick has won, and I believe he's created the greatest diss track in the history of hip hop. What say you?
I can't disagree, and it's one simple fact, because you brought up the ones I was thinking of as other examples. Those aren't being echoed through a stadium. Those aren't being played in clubs. Those aren't being played all over the place. This is. He's created a cultural thing. And remember, the diss was on Kendrick when this beef started, and they started going back and forth, was Kendrick can't write music that gets played in clubs. And the song that gets played in clubs
Come on now. Tell him.
is a diss track. It's remarkable what he's done with this. I don't think we've never seen anything like this, right?
No,
like,
we haven't. We haven't. Absolutely,
this is crazy because it doesn't really matter. It just, hip hop has become this thing where now it's like hugely, obviously Juneteenth, hugely important for the culture, but like everybody enjoys this. Everybody's on board. Everybody's like, oh my God, Drake just got buried by this guy. You can't come back from that.
Brad, I've seen people. I saw people. I'm thinking one person in particular who used it as their caption on Mother's Day when they were posing with their family. This lady isn't black, by the way. Posing with their family, and one of the hashtags was "They Not Like Us." I'm like, wow, it's even making it to Instagram captions that have nothing to do with this beef. Just using it for like, I'm proud of my family.
Yeah,
they not like us. Wow.
Did they have the pinky thing? The pinky.
They did not. They did not have the pinky graphic. I know I will never understand, but I stand with you. The white and black pinky.
Yes.
No, it was not that.
Okay. Well, that's something at least.
that is something. It's the crowd reaction, really. That really was surreal to see. I mean, how many people are at the Kia Forum, Brad? 10,000 easily.
I mean, it was packed.
It seemed like
It was packed. And to pop off without music playing. Music didn't play it. Dre started that with just some sound.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's brilliant. I see that. Like all of it is just, you're not a colleague, you're a like all of it, colonizer, all of it is just, Kendrick is one of those dudes. He did the Drake dance during the performance. Yeah. He was wearing the clothes that were the exact color as Drake in Hotline Bling when Drake does I mean, all of it is so cerebral.
He didn't perform one of the songs.
No, I know.
They did.
J. Cole made a great business decision by saying, I'm stepping away. I don't want any of this.
Yeah.
Because this is
I really like J. Cole too. So that's I
know. There's gonna be a place in time where we discuss what's next for Drake and all this. But for now, I think we just gotta celebrate Kendrick and his brilliance and how amazing it was to see, and again on Juneteenth, to see all of these fans in the community just uniting.
So cool.
Uniting and partying. To your point, over a diss track. Like, I just, like you said, I just don't recall a time where we've seen this, and it has to be the greatest diss track ever. I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to say it with my chest. It just is.
I can't wait to see what the feedback is for this. I really, because I'm with you, man. Like, I don't think there's anything that can be said that's going to defeat this. Because if people start saying like, well, no, there's better versions. Yeah, there are probably better diss tracks, but they're not this popular. They're not a cultural event. Not even close. So we're going into fight mode, because I can hear, it sounds like fighting happening out in the hallway. I hear the sound of an upset 7-year-old. So let's roll into our WWE questions from here, Tyler.
Let's do it. The Wyatt Sick6 made their long-awaited debut on Monday Night Raw 1 week ago. I'm going to get right to it. They promised a massacre, and they delivered. How confident are you that this group can be booked successfully?
I'm very confident. I think, first of all, I think Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, or I don't really know what he's going by now, because he's not Bo. I guess we don't know yet, right? We have no idea what his wrestler name is going to be, or if he's just going as a Rotunda, or maybe he's coming out as a Wyatt. I would imagine that's what it's going to be. Is he going to be Bo Wyatt? What's his shoot name? Isn't it like Trevor or something?
Taylor
Rotunda. So Taylor Rotunda. Of course, it's so alliterative. Beautiful name. Taylor Wyatt doesn't seem to have the same thing, and Bo Wyatt is just too close. So I'm not sure what he comes out as, if anything other than Uncle Howdy. But Uncle Howdy is not exactly rolling off the tongue there. But when that piano played, man, that was so cool to hear the crowd react that way. Maybe one of the coolest shots that they've done so far, just because of the special effects and the technical aspects of it, to have to set everything up backstage while running the show from backstage. I'm so curious how they set it up. And there's probably going to be at some point a documentary or a behind the scenes thing where they're like, okay, everything backstage is now run from the truck. Everything's done from the truck. We got 10 tech guys pumping in fog. We got the camera guys walking through, not really minding that it looks like a guy had his brains blown out of the wall in Gorilla. People were saying Chad Gable got shot in the head. That guy had like a paint splatter coming out. It looked like the cover of a Borderlands game. That man was dead. You can't convince me.
It was graphic.
It was incredibly graphic.
It was, speaking of things I don't recall seeing before, that was like, oh, wow, that certainly seen blood in wrestling. If not, we get that pretty much weekly at this point, Brad.
Yes.
But the splatter, it was giving GTA Vice City.
Yes. So here's why I think it'll be successful. I think all of the talent involved were either called up or left alone for a while, because this was always in the works. And then when Bray passed, everything, the brakes got slammed on, and it came to a screeching halt. It's been like a year-ish or coming up on a year. So I think that this answers a lot of questions that we had. Like Nikki Cross was getting real weird. We didn't really understand why. Dexter Lumis disappeared. Gacy got called up, but didn't do anything with him. and now they're there, and Rowan was signed recently. So, or Redbeard was signed. Now Rowan is back, I guess is the way to look at that. So I think it's going to be great, especially since Bray and his brother both work closely on this. And I think it was about having them both together. But the last time we really saw Howdy, he was Mountain Dew blasting LA Knight poorly through a table. So it's just so bad. And I know that he did other stuff afterward, but that's the lasting memory is going to be that stupid, was it Code Black or whatever it was? Pitch Black. Match
at the Rumble, yeah.
But it sounds like they have long-term plans, that this has been thought out really thoroughly. Whoever was writing and producing the Bray stuff when he came back seems to be still in on it. I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to do right by this. For two reasons. Number one, a lot of discourse this week about them making a cash grab by having Uncle Howdy come back. And people saying it's gross that they're doing this because they're making money off of Bray's name when he's dead. And it's like, Bray wasn't the only one doing this stuff. Yes, he's the star and the main attraction, but this was about other talent. I can't think of any, I don't know Bray Wyatt. I never met Bray Wyatt. But all the things people say about Bray Wyatt, it seems to me that he's the type of guy that would want to get as many people involved and to be successful as humanly possible. He just genuinely seemed like he wanted to have everybody around him be successful, because he knows that it's better when they're all successful together. And Triple H knows that, and WWE Creative knows that. I think they're going to work as hard as they can to not screw this up, because it's that his legacy is that important to the company now. And people want it. I like a little spooky shit every once in a while, Tyler. Like it's my favorite angle, because I like finding out, like, give me a mystery character. I like figuring out like what's really going on here. That's intriguing to me. Like the Dom and Liv stuff. What's really going on there? It's intriguing to me. Like, why is it happening? So yes, it is happening, and it's funny and it's compelling and all of those things, but it's like, well, but why is it happening? And if they can get me to keep asking, why is this happening? Or what's going to happen next, then they've done their job well. So far, so good. And when Bray Wyatt came back, they had us all wondering what's going to happen next, or how can they make this better in the future? Because that was pretty cool, but that match itself was cheeks. But we knew it was going to be good. So I think, I don't believe them when they said they're leaning away from the supernatural stuff, because that's a thing WWE said, and then we got all this. But I'm okay if they don't. I'm kind of okay with them just leaning into it, because you got a spooky team already that doesn't do anything supernatural. They're just kind of badasses in Judgment Day. So yeah, give us something different. Give us that different flavor, and I think this could be it. I don't need them to ever wrestle either. They're gonna, but like, I don't even need them in a match. The wrestling match could obviously be the thing that ends a story, but have it always be cinematic. I think it could be great. But I think those kinds of characters work better when they're not directly involved in matches or in the match itself. I don't care if they're involved outside of it. They just show up to cause chaos. I think that's perfect for that group. It's different than like a random run-in. I'm excited, Tyler, just to see what happens with Chad Gable. I'm excited because in the bump, Jey Uso was interviewed and was like, yeah, you can have the Fireflies back. I don't want them. Like, that's all them. That's family. I don't want any part of this. And backing all the way out. But it did seem like they were taking out the heels. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yes. Yeah. This next phase of, okay, it seems as though they targeted specific individuals, and we don't think that's random.
Mm-mm.
I want to be as hopeful as you, Brad. I think for all the reasons you said, there is reason to be, and just the added recognition that Bray Wyatt passed away. And this seems very much not only an ode to Bray, but really finishing what Bray started. I think that clearly carries a lot of weight and has to add to the, I don't know if I want to use the word pressure, but just the level of importance that WWE needs to do right by this group. We saw how it went with Bray. stop and start. He had to reinvent his characters because many of them didn't seem to have a lot of longevity. Seems like for this, you really have to treat it with care. I hope they will. And like you, I'm excited because that was an absolutely epic way to end Monday Night Raw. It was vicious. It was intriguing. And I want to see more.
They've really gotten back to the cliffhangers, and I appreciate that just so much. Man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I probably won't see it live, but I can't wait to watch it. Okay, so Tyler, I already brought up a few things here. I'm gonna ask you to pick from this list. I would like you to pick what you are most looking forward to out of this list. You ready?
I'm ready.
Liv and Dom, the Wyatt Six, what comes out of Drew murdering Punk, Jacob Fatu, all of the new just production. Shout out to Bron Breakker. Murdering Kaiser around the ring. What a shot.
He's the man. He's next.
And Wyatt Six transcending the WWE television and making appearances on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN.
I caught that.
Yeah. Out of all of those things, not necessarily McAfee, but like just wrestling things happening in other places. I know
you probably
know your thoughts about
McAfee. Yeah.
Out of all of those, what do you think has the most potential, or what are you most excited about out of all of those?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start by a quick rewind.
And I left out Money in the Bank. So there's that too.
Yeah, we're getting that in 2 weeks.
And Forbidden Door is next Sunday.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Don't you worry. Yeah. So Liv and Dom, I mean, this is classic WWE. It's nice to have a love story. It's nice to already get excited for Rhea Ripley's return.
Yeah.
So that already is a success and is going to be even more successful as the weeks progress. Bron Breakker is just doing it big right now and is wreaking havoc everywhere. It's great to see a talent progress. It's really cool to be able to watch a talent progress. He was obviously the guy in NXT, the new NXT from day one. And it seems like he's really, really found his character and is poised to likely be the next Intercontinental Champion. So he's great. Jacob Fatu finally debuting in Chicago on SmackDown was awesome. Of course, we can't wait for Roman to return. We spoke about it last week. The quote from last week's episode, Brad, best quote was from you. You said, anywhere in America, when Roman Reigns' music plays, when he returns, everyone is getting on their feet and putting up the ones and acknowledging him. All of that being said, to answer your question, my friend, I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre. I'm so glad that he beat up CM Punk because CM Punk deserved that.
Yeah.
This is coming from a lifelong CM Punk fan. He deserved that. He had it coming. And Drew versus Punk is, to me, already in the driver's seat for feud of the year. Certainly in WWE, maybe, dare I say, in all of wrestling. So I love that we're progressing that storyline, and that grudge match, which I would anticipate is going to be at SummerSlam, is going to just be fantastic. So I'm going to go with Drew because I think him and CM Punk have been doing some great work. And the fact that it's not even for a championship, I give them even extra respect and kudos for what they've been building there and how invested we are as a fan base.
Yeah, I think, man, I have a couple of thoughts. The Liv and Dom thing it's just so much fun, and I can't wait to see what happens when Rhea gets back. I think that leads to the eventual breakup of the Judgment Day, and
definitely because Dom's going with Liv, clearly, right?
Yeah.
I don't know yet if they're working in cahoots or if Liv is just gonna totally persuade him, but it's clear he's not gonna say no to Liv Morgan. They're gonna join forces, and then that's how Rhea comes back, right? When she's healthy.
Yeah, she did the Haktua thing to her belt on Instagram and or Twitter or whatever, and I know Dom retweeted it or reposted it.
Yeah,
so that's definitely a thing that happened.
That was a thing.
That's a thing.
Also on social, there was a lot on social media.
A lot on social media.
Like what did they say? The Atlanta Hawks? What? No. No, it's not about Trae Young.
Nope, different Hawk. Also, that woman apparently was dismissed from her position as a preschool teacher. can't be doing stuff on cameras out in the wilderness. You just can't be doing stuff. The Wyatt Six, obviously, I got an Uncle Howdy mask right there.
Yeah, that's probably the right answer, is it not?
I don't know, man. I'm with you with this Drew killing Punk thing. This story has been going on for months. It's the best feud going right now, in my opinion. I don't think it's even close. And then like there's the bloodline feuding, and there's building for War Games, but whatever, I don't care. It's gonna be fun, but I really don't care about the bloodline right now. Jacob Fatu made me care. I'm more interested in what's going on with Paul Heyman. I don't care what the bloodline is doing. I do care about what's happening within it, because it's pretty clear that we're going to end up with the Usos reuniting and having probably doing solo stuff, but being tag partners on occasion, and them with Roman and having the original bloodline against the new bloodline, I guess, the solo led bloodline. Jacob Fatu is going to wrestle circles around every single one of them, though. And that's the part that I'm looking forward the most. He's so good. I don't know if they're going to allow him as a big man to do all of the things that he normally does, but he is, I think, far and away the best worker in that group, maybe outside of Jay right now, because we saw him, they let him fly. That angle from the other side of the crowd, looking away from the hard cam, that was a distance that boy jumped. And he is not a small individual. He leapt through the air at probably 300 pounds and killed the champ. And
we haven't even talked about Cody yet in this list. That's pretty wild. Arguably their biggest active wrestler, certainly on the men's side.
Yes, but also I don't really care what he's doing right now. I'm actually more interested in what's going on in the other champion. So it's because I don't know what's going to happen with Damian Priest, and with Cody, it's like, who's the contender?
Mm-hmm. He just fought solo on Friday. I thought maybe that was going to be the Money
Me too.
in the Bank match.
And then it just wasn't.
They could run it back, I suppose, but
yeah, I just all the other people, unless you have somebody turn heel, are like, there's no viable threat right now out there other than Roman if he decides to cash in on a rematch without the bloodline backing him up. So it's I don't know, it's really interesting. They could heat somebody up fast, but it's just not. They're obviously preparing for their other match. That's what this is, and that's fine. But they're highlighting other people right now because Cody doesn't need to be highlighted. That's the other thing. Like Cody's here. He's the top of the company right now. And they don't need to do that. They don't need to build him. Having the new guy kill Cody right off the bat, that's pretty dope. That's a mark of, yes, we trust you and we have big plans for you. So I'm super excited to see that. Dude, Jacob Fatu against Drew. Yeah. I mean, there's so many directions that this could go.
Fatu's feud with Hammerstone and MLW.
Yes, I caught some of those.
Really, I haven't watched that much. I'm putting myself on blast. That's the thing of legend from what I see on the timeline. That was the feud in MLW for a long, long time. So I'm glad Fatu's here. I'm glad we can see him work. And you're right, Brad. He made quite the statement. Really strong episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Like the conversation surrounding both episodes this past week was really positive. And to your point, the fan base is really intrigued to tune in next week, which I think ultimately is the goal of weekly TV, is to get viewers back the following week because they're invested in what's next.
Yeah. And I would say those were probably the best. Specifically, SmackDown was probably the best episode of SmackDown in a long while.
It was loaded.
It was really good. Yeah. And Raw was my favorite ending of the year by far, and had some of my favorite moments. Just letting the thinking about what Kevin Dunn limited them to, and what they've been able to do with seeing that interview with Triple H, just basically them saying like, well, we want to try this. Yeah, go for it. Let's see what happens. I think it was after Mania when he talked about that has really paid dividends for them, because my God, just the shots have been retweeted and reposted. Just look at this angle and watch Jay's entrance ever since I think it was Montreal when he entered. He pushed that guy out of the way to enter from the top. That's been his entrance every time.
Yeah. He's got the Fireflies now.
Mm-hmm. We didn't even talk about Joe Hendry.
We did not. We didn't talk about NXT a lick.
No, it's
Joe Hendry, very popular.
I if you want to piss off Freya, just start humming that song.
Really? I thought it was going to be a hit with her.
She loves it. She can't get it out of her head. She gets really mad at me when I start singing it. She wants me to cut it off. She's like, if you keep doing it, if you do that again, I'm going to punch you in the butt. She'll just like, I'll be walking to the fridge and just suddenly feel this sharp pain in the ass.
She's 7 now. Those punches, she's not pulling back.
I'm always afraid that I'm going to turn around when she's mid punch.
Yeah. Down for the count.
Yes. Dump to the floor. Speaking of getting dumped, Tyler, I know you've been looking forward to this, but I have not. Monty Williams is gone. We got to talk about it. It's what happened here. Cue up the music.
What happened here?
We are obviously not here to celebrate someone losing their job. But, Brad, we've been documenting the Monty Williams experience. This is close to our hearts, obviously, because Monty Williams is the former coach of the Phoenix Suns, one of their most successful coaches in franchise history. And then he became your coach. In fact, on last year's end of the year recap, our 2023 awards, we had a category specifically named after Monty. It was the Monty Williams It Was Good Until It Wasn't award.
Yes.
He may be the recipient this year.
He might.
At the end of the year in December. He was let go from your Detroit Pistons 1 year into when he signed it, then record $78.5 million contract. Quick quote for you. This was said, I should say, by Pistons owner Tom Gores on Wednesday. He said, "Decisions like these are difficult to make, and I want to thank Monty for his hard work and dedication. Coaching has many dynamic challenges that emerge during a season, and Monty always handled those with grace. However, after reviewing our performance carefully and assessing our current position as an organization, we will chart a new course moving forward." How are you, Brad?
So when we picked him up, I think some things just don't translate well, right? Like he did really well with the Suns. And how did you feel when he was let go?
It was sad. It was sad because he was coach of the year in 2021. And then in no short order, he was no longer the coach. It was sad for me, for Suns fans, but it seemed like at that point, it was not a surprise that the organization was going to let him go, because you come so close to the finals, and then Luka rolls into Phoenix and snatches your soul, and your team looks totally unprepared.
Yes,
I was sad, but I was not surprised.
And I think that's it. Like, you can be successful and have it not translate somewhere else. It's a weird comparison. I had to look up the stats because I couldn't remember what it was when he was at San Diego State. But Brady Hoke took over the Michigan football program around 2011. He took over San Diego State, and when he took the job, they were 2-10 the year before, and then the team went 4-8, and then 9-4 before he went to Michigan and took the Michigan job. It just, didn't work. They ended up 5-7 his last year there, and that's not going to work at Michigan. Monty is the worst coach in Detroit Pistons history for coaches who coached at least 50 games. It was, I wrote down here, it was Cheeks. It just wasn't Maurice Cheeks, but it was close. It's pretty bad.
Shout out to that's the first. I'm pretty confident in saying that's the first ever Maurice Cheeks reference on GI.
Probably,
and I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy he finally made his appearance.
Great player.
Yeah, great name. Love Mo Cheeks. Philly guy.
He was a very bad coach for the Pistons. So Monty had a .1707 win percentage, statistically the worst in franchise history. They didn't get better. I think that's the thing. I think they started off. Didn't they start off like? I can't remember if it was preseason. Maybe it was preseason. But they won their first game, and I was like, "This is what it's going to be like."
That must have been.
And
that
then
must have been summer league.
And then 28 games. 28 games.
They won like what, 15 games last season in total? At 82? 16?
14?
14.
I think.
82. In the East.
Let's see.
I feel
I'm trying to find it right now.
Yeah, I mean the team has young talent, but I think the construction of the team not having much shooting, and it just seemed like the younger guys were bought into Monty, and we know Monty's a big culture guy. You never have to worry about him being an A-class dude.
Yes.
It's just surprising that it went south immediately, and it could never recover last year.
Well, they had injuries, but then they had their players come back, and then they still sucked. So it clearly wasn't an injury thing, and people weren't listening to him. He did not have the locker room. So he might have a presence and how do I want to frame this? A philosophy that he believes will work. I think all coaches, all teachers, any leaders all have that philosophy of this is the best way to do it. It just wasn't. Since ownership took over, like what, 13, 14 years ago, I think, they just haven't been any good. It's at that point where I'm like, I don't know if I want a new coach or for them to sell the damn team, because what we got out of this is the Little Caesars Pizzerina and bad teams with really good rosters, like really good players on the roster that nobody's been able to figure out the pieces. Because every year one of them's like, nah, I'm done with this Detroit shit. I'm out of here. Because let's face it, Detroit's still a small market. It's just not a big market. Detroit's a big city, but it's not a big market. It's kind of like Pittsburgh in that respect, where it's like, it's a city that it's a city that you've heard of. It's a city. It's not a town or anything like that. There's a lot of people that live there, but it'd be like Tucson having a pro sports team, which it does in FC Tucson, but it's we wouldn't ever be able to support an NFL team or an NBA team down here. I just don't think that could possibly happen because there's not enough population. Where there's 10 million people up in Phoenix, there's not 10 million people in Detroit. So the weather sucks up there. It's real bad. The city has come back and it's really nice now. And I'm not gonna say really nice, but it's much nicer than what it was. And I think Detroit deserves a lot of love, and I love me some Michigan, but it just didn't work. And I'm ready to move on to the next thing. It's just, when you fire somebody like Monty Williams, you better have something good spooled up in that chamber. The only thing is, I can't see it possibly being worse than what it was this year. I don't think they lose 14 games next year or win 14 games next year. I think they win 15 at least.
I want that for you.
And we need to get rid of the damn lottery, okay? This lottery bullshit, the team is ass. They won 14 games, lost 28 in a row. They went from like the end of October until the new year and weren't winning a damn thing. And we're not getting the first draft pick? What is happening here?
Atlanta Hawks, going back to earlier.
Yeah, Hawk Tua,
yeah. Oh man. Well, I want that for you. But Brad, luckily, I have something that I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy. It's essentially a guarantee. Forbidden Door is this weekend. I believe it's one of your favorite annual pay-per-views. And I have an AEW question for you that is very much related to Sunday's show. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
So it's happening just a few months into his career as a full-time contracted AEW wrestler. Will Ospreay is main eventing a pay-per-view for the AEW World Championship at Forbidden Door this weekend. Two-part question for you. First, what have you thought of his expedited ascension? And aside from the fans, who wins on Sunday?
That's a tough question. I'm not ready to see Swerve drop it. I'm also ready to see Swerve drop it at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. It's like Will Ospreay with the championship makes sense because he's there because he's Will Ospreay. He's better than everybody. But he has one. So what do we do there? We're gonna double him up.
We've seen that in AEW before. Not the world champ, but thinking of my man Pac.
Yeah. So are we gonna merge them if that happens? Maybe it's a way to get rid of one of the extra belts. Because we got continentals, we got internationals, we got
Daniel Garcia was talking real spicy. He wants a crack at that international championship.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. Because Will's already got the belt, I can see Will losing via the Don Callis family interfering. And then them getting involved in Kyle Fletcher reuniting United Empire and beating them down. And maybe that's the return of Mark Davis. I don't know where he is. I'm assuming he's injured. And that's why we haven't seen him around. I have no idea. I don't remember them saying it, but maybe they said it on ROH or something. I'm not watching that. So I think you have to have Swerve retain, but I wouldn't be mad if Will won. I just don't know what Swerve does next if that happens. Because I don't think he's done his world tour yet. He's not done conquering everybody. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%. And I'm thinking, I agree with you that Swerve wins this weekend. That would also be a huge win to add to his resume if he's the guy to be the first person to beat Will Ospreay.
Yes.
And then that leads me to think, okay, well, what is the all-in London match? Maybe Bryan Danielson wins the Owen, and then Danielson versus Swerve is the main event for that show.
Oh, I didn't think about that because that makes a lot of sense to have Will be the champ going into Wembley. Oh man,
I think Swerve wins this weekend. I don't think Brad, you and I know Will Ospreay is going to be AEW champ sooner than later.
Oh, he'll still have the international.
He'll still have the international.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that makes more sense. Okay.
Hear me out. All in London. Your two top men's matches. We know hopefully Mariah's winning gold at that show. Two top men's matches. Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. And for the International Championship, one William Ospreay versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Yes.
You're paying $50 for this just off the strength of those two matches.
For each match, yes.
For each match, yes, $100.
Yes, yeah.
Tony Khan will be very happy with you. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I think it's got to be Swerve winning on Sunday. Okay. I just want to know how happy you are with Will Ospreay at the moment in terms of his booking, in terms of his presentation, because before he signed this contract, you were the biggest Will Ospreay fan in my life. You still are, but now we get to see him weekly, and he's being positioned as one of the guys in this company. You must be elated.
He's so good. And there's a lot of other talent that are really, really good that don't get to showcase it all the time because they get to do the one thing. You haven't seen it yet, but he wrestled Brian Cage on Collision in the main event, and it was a lot of fun. That was a fun match. And we know that Brian Cage can go, but we haven't been able to see him really, really do that all that much because he's kind of like the hoss in the group. But then when you let him go in there and just really do his thing, we know what he can do. He was a former world champ with TNA, right? With Impact. And to have him be able to go in there with, we talk about the Hangman match from the opening match years ago on Double or Nothing. Or was it even was it the opening match or was it the buy-in? I can't even remember.
It was the opening match.
And it was just, it was a classic, man. That match was great. And Will going in there and doing that with him just reaffirms to me that he's the guy. He's the guy in AEW. I would love to see him even international championship with MJF, of course. I'm less thrilled with MJF's booking, but I really liked his match with Roosh this week. But yeah, I think Will and MJF, that makes a lot of sense. So I have kind of a longer one. I'm going to try to go fast for time here. I'm going to give you a list of names. It's a big list. Some of these people are off for various reasons, but I'm going to give you women first. Ready?
I'm ready. We love this.
And then the men. This list, well, I'll get to it in a second. Abaddon, Britt Baker, Sheeta, Jamie Hayter, injured, Diamante, Layla Gray, Marina Shafir, Mercedes Martinez, Penelope Ford, Ty Mello, baby. Okay, for the men, Bandito, Danhausen, Dralistico, Josh Woods, who had I believe, his first match on Collision, Miro, Scorpio Sky, and then these names that I believe are all injured. I'm not sure what's going on with Keith Lee, but Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Mark Davis, ? So you can count them if you want to, because it's a shorter list than the women. These were all men and women who have had 0 matches on AEW television that are on the AEW roster. 0-0 in 2024. Pick a men's and women's wrestler who hasn't wrestled for AEW this year that you want to see back as soon as Forbidden Door. Try to stay away from the injuries, but up to you.
No, that's I understand the assignment. I can do that. Women's, oh gosh, it's either the pillar or the killer, Britt Baker or Jamie Hayter. Since we're avoiding injuries, I'm gonna go with Britt Baker because I'm pretty sure we know she's healthy. Maybe it's got to be Britt at this point. It's so easy to forget with how the women's division has progressed, which is an amazing sight.
Yes,
it's easy to forget that Britt Baker was the face of that division and was really holding things together for a long time. So for the women's side, it's Britt Baker. It's already money, pun intended, to have Britt versus Mercedes. I mean, I'm yearning for what is the first women's match that main events a pay-per-view, Brad. I think there's a case to be made for maybe that would be Britt versus Mercedes. We shall see. On the men's side, you know I'm rolling with Keith Lee or Miro. My personal answer would be Keith Lee because you know how much affection I have for him.
yes.
But we've seen more from Miro on AEW, and we've seen it work well with Miro on AEW in a singles capacity. With Keith, we've really only seen him and Swerve together. They were champs. It went well. As a solo act, we haven't seen a ton from Keith, whereas Miro, in my opinion, he had the greatest, maybe aside from Christian Cage, the greatest TNT title run to date. The character, the promos, to me, Miro is, if and when he comes back, he is poised to move up to the main event title scene. So I'm going to go Britt Baker and I'm going to go Miro. I hope we see both of them at some point soon, if not as soon as Forbidden Door, as you laid out. Who are you rolling with?
Same people. It's Britt and it's and it's Miro. I know some of these other talent are in ROH, but they're on the AEW roster. Get them off of the AEW roster if they're not doing AEW stuff. Bothers me when I go on there and like, oh, Diamante's still signed, but she's doing ROH stuff. Diamante should be on AEW TV just for her theme song. Like, it's so good. Her entrance is incredible. And she's so effing good.
Yeah, she is.
She's so good. Kira Hogan, you could put in there too, but she had a match this year.
Injured.
So, yeah.
She wasn't at Ashe 4 due to that injury.
Man. So I know Miro. I think I saw him recently posting that he was in Bulgaria, probably visiting family or friends. I know that he's got a lot of personal stuff going on right now. And hopefully he's okay. And hopefully he's coming back. I just hope they have plans. He strikes me as a guy who says, let me know what you got for me and I'll do it. And not, this is what I want to do kind of person. So I don't really know if that'll ever happen, because Tony Khan also seems like a guy who's like, oh, what's in front of me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of person. So
he does a million things.
Yes.
Like, yeah. I don't know when he gets sleep. Presumably he does.
Presumably. All of those talent I think will help, because for whatever reason right now, especially in Dynamite, even though Dynamite was pretty solid, I enjoyed the show. I didn't think there was anything to like really write home about it other than the opening match. There was a few moments in there, but like, it wasn't like, whoa, you have to tune in.
Yeah.
And
Dante Martin really showed out.
He was great, but I don't know what it's so hard to go like, what am I tuning in for? the danger with running a show like a sports show that's more sports focused, Tyler, is that you can just look at the results. You don't need to be there for the story or the nuance because you can just find out who won. And I think that's a really difficult ask for audiences to come in just to see who wins the match. And I know it's wrestling. I know what this is, but do you want to see what will happen in the match more, or why the match is taking place more? And I think most people would say, like, well, look what WWE is doing. I want to see that. I want to see what's happening outside of it to make me care about the match, because the story happens outside of the ring. And then the story of the conclusion of that story, like the climax, happens in the ring, but the story itself happens everywhere else, all the exposition and all the other stuff. So in AEW, it all sort of happens in the ring for a lot of the things because they do tournaments. The thing is that I love the tournaments. I love it. I think it's cool because there are stories that come out of that.
Exactly. Yep.
But there's not a lot of stories going into it other than the tournament itself. And I don't know that I care about, like, do you care about the regular season as much as you do about the playoffs? Because until we get into those last four, it's kind of like whatever. But I'm invested. It doesn't make everybody else invested. And I think that's why numbers suffer a little bit in AEW because of things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's a great point by you. I enjoyed this week's Dynamite. I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is the first time I can remember where I'm more excited for the women's side of things than the men's. I mean, the women's
Agreed.
Owen is loaded.
It's
Absolutely. And this is a case where you actually have a story going into it that presumably is going to be furthered in Willow Nightingale. The eventual grudge match between Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. The feel, the stories that we could see, especially if Mariah May ends up winning this tournament and gets that match versus Tony in London. I think the women are really gonna show up and show out in this year's Owen.
I can't wait for Forbidden Door because Mercedes and Stephanie are going to put on a classic, I think. And imagine if the Doctor Will See You Now music starts playing at the end of it, or if Hater Hits Hard starts banging.
What's the Mercedes match at All In? I haven't even thought about that. It's got to be something that is befitting of her star power.
Yeah, it's got to be something big, and I don't know what that'll be, but I don't care. I just want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for it. I don't have a transition out of this, Tyler. I'm real tired. We've been going for over an hour already, so let's just get into the state of 19.
Late breaking news from the world of 19 media.
That sounds great, my friend. It is time to fill our audience in on what our teammates have going on, and there is a lot. First, as always, Jessica and Carmen are back with a new episode of Small Town USA. They packed their bags and landed in Wisconsin Dells. I've not heard of this, Brad. I'm sure you have. It is according to the ladies, it is the water park capital of the world. You can follow them at Small Town USA Show, and show is spelled SHW on X. Tune in.
I have been to the Wisconsin Dells. I've been to Noah's Ark several times. It is shocking, this place, because it's in the middle of Wisconsin and it makes no sense. And it's the largest water park area in the world. There's just 3 or 4 water parks just back to back to back, and they're massive.
I already learned something new. Shout out to the team.
Check out Hidden Gems Golf, 19's official fantasy golf-based podcast. The Mojo King provides picks and analysis before every big match. Happy birthday, Max. You can follow him at APowerMojo.
Desmond continues his greatness on Hip to the Games, a show dedicated to the love of hip-hop and hoops. He dropped an episode on Friday detailing the latest news and notes and his observations from the WNBA. Tune in for the creativity and thorough insight that only Dez can provide. You can follow him at Hip to the Games.
Ricky discussed the hiring of JJ Redick on the latest installment of Late Night Lake Show. You know he has you covered whenever news breaks in Tinseltown. You can follow him at Late Night Lakers.
Sticking with the association, Warren and Cal of the NBI. That's not the name of their podcast at all.
National Basketball Institute, yes.
Shout out to James Naismith. The Baseline NBA podcast, that is their great show. They got you covered during the season and beyond. Check out their latest episode to hear their NBA Finals recap. I believe one Warren Shaw is very happy with the result of said NBA Finals. You can follow them at NBA Baseline.
Speaking of Warren, he continues to do great work with dope interviews. He welcomed artist Justin Bua on the latest edition. Tune in and follow the show at dope_interviews.
We're thrilled to have SiriusXM's Gerald Brown on the 19 roster. Check out his weekly show, Heavy in the Paint. He welcomed Dennis Hobson, former lottery pick and NBA champion, to discuss his career and this week's 2024 NBA draft. You can follow him at Gerald BLSS.
Finally, we love Mike Steff, co-host of Hidden Gems Football with Mo during the NFL season, but that's not all. Check out his solo show, The Salty Thoughts of Mike Steff, for passionate commentary on the latest news in sports, professional wrestling, and New York politics. You can follow him at Mike Steffens _.
Beautiful.
Oh,
we did it, Brad. What a week. We must have missed something.
we did. We missed a Prize Picks ad. We'll get to that in a minute. Tyler, what else did we miss this week?
Shout out to you. I couldn't do this without you, man. Absolutely brilliant and accurate. What did we miss? That's hilarious. I have two items for this. Number one, Kehlani, one of my favorite R&B artists, released a new album entitled Crash. I listened to it once. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, which feels like a blasphemous statement to say aloud for the first time, but I will revisit it and see how it sticks with me then. And then finally, on a wrestling tip, Who Killed WCW? New series on Vice. 3 episodes have been released. I believe the finale is already upcoming this week.
Wow.
But really great docu-series on WCW and answering the question of its downfall. Who is most responsible for it? There are episodes focused on Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo. There's even some Goldberg slander, which I know a lot of the timeline enjoys. So, Brad, you and I both really love WCW, especially during its peak. I mean, how could you not, right?
Right.
So I think Vice did another great job with telling an intriguing story about wrestling. In this case, the downfall of one of the biggest wrestling companies of all time.
Well, this was fun. I'm glad we were able to do this, and I'm glad I'll be heading to speaking of water parks, heading to a water park tomorrow for a couple of days of fun. Yeah.
Happy belated birthday, Freya. I can't wait to hear about it, man. Safe travels, and we thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you. You know we do, and we'll see you next week. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.